Hello, good evening, everybody. I take the pleasure to welcome you all to yet another session of Alexa Community India. To all the voice tech enthusiasts, I hope you are safe and with your family amidst the pandemic. We are conducting an interesting giveaway for this session, and here is an opportunity that you do not want to miss. Send us your name and email ID in the form URL mentioned on the screen, and the team would pick a lucky winner. Good luck. Now we shall set ourselves to the main segment. We have with us Jeff Blankenburg, Principal Alexa Evangelist Amazon, to talk on people and how much better they could do with augmented AI. Jeff spent the early part of his career in digital advertising, building websites for Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie and Fitch, and Ford Motor Company, among others. He also spent 8 years at Microsoft, primarily as an evangelist for any new technology he could get his hands on. Today, he works on the Amazon Alexa team, helping developers make Alexa even smarter. He also serves as an organizer for the Star Trek conference. Over to you, Jeff.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we will get right into it. Thank you guys all for having me this morning. I really do appreciate it. It's my morning. I suppose it's your evening. So let's talk a little bit about people, because that's what I want to talk about today. So I'm here from Alexa. I work on the Alexa team. My role is Principal Alexa Evangelist. I spend all of my time thinking about and building things for Alexa. And I know I've met many of you. I was at the Alexa Community Day last year in Bangalore.
Sorry, I don't know that.
Well, she should know that. Anyway, it was a great honor of mine to be able to speak there last year, and I was really happy to be invited to speak with all of you again. So as we get into this, I want to make sure that I start with a great big disclaimer. This is a very important thing for you all to know. This is for you and for me. I'm going to talk to you about the future. This isn't a promised future. I'm not making far-off product announcements. You're not getting a secret scoop on something that may be coming down the road. This is my vision for where I think we can be with the future of voice. This is what kinds of opportunities sit in front of us. And it has everything to do with people. So there's no promises here. This stuff may not happen in our lifetimes or in many lifetimes, but I hope that it will. So let's get into this. I like to dream. I like to imagine. I like to invent things. And I came here today to share some of my dreams with you, because I think you'll like a lot of these things too. And most of my dreams revolve around people and the way their lives could be better. So let's talk about people for a minute. People are important. People are the reason we go to work. People are the reason for pretty much everything we do anymore. People are interesting. Without people, life is pretty boring. It's a pretty boring, meaningless place, actually. I want you to imagine for a second that you were the last person on Earth. Now, aside from all the free time and all the food you could have and the adventures you could go on, all of it would be pretty sad and lonely. You'd be by yourself all the time. And I think that this pandemic, more than anything, has shown us just how lonely life can be when we can't be around all of the people we care about. But in a situation where you were the last person on Earth, your focus would only be on survival. And there wouldn't be any of the people that you normally rely on for the energy and the excitement and enthusiasm that you normally find in life. But there are lots of different kinds of people. If we think about coming back to today, there are amazing athletes, right? They spend a huge amount of their time working on getting bigger and faster and stronger. They provide inspiration and motivation and entertainment for people. But they do it in a way that makes them focus most of their energy on staying fit, on making sure that they are as good at their sport as they possibly can be. Then think about artists. Some are very, very talented artists, right? They dream about what could be, and they create art that inspires other people. But they have to spend a lot of their time to be very good at this, right? It comes with practice and repetition to be able to do these things very, very well. All of these things require time. Think about doctors and medical professionals and research solving incredibly difficult problems for other people. This is especially pertinent today as we think about all of the advances that are being made in medicine to help us overcome this pandemic. They're only good at what they do because they spend a ton of their time focused on these kinds of things. And then there's folks like us, if my computer wants to cooperate. There's folks like us, right? Programmers and software developers and creators that are creating the next generation of software and user interfaces to make life easy for other people. I am one of these people, and I absolutely love doing this, but it takes a lot of my time. And the point we're going to get to all of this is that as we think about all of the different kinds of people that are out there, there's so many different kinds, so many different opportunities with so many different backgrounds. They have imagination and enthusiasm, but they all have one thing in common, and that is we all have too much to do all the time. That too much to do gets in the way of executing on our imagination, on our innovation, on our excitement, because we have to focus on things like paying our bills and making sure we have food on the table. So let's talk a little bit about what this really means to you. Come on, mouse. You are the most important person in your story. You have your own dreams, you have your own aspirations, you have tasks to be completed, and you find yourself thinking about outcomes. What will happen if I do this, or if I take this job, or whatever? You spend all day, every day, thinking about what could be and to how to solve problems. Sometimes those thoughts are productive, right? I think a great idea. I can't wait to see my friends on Friday. When are we sending humans to Mars, right? These are all questions we may have. But sometimes they also look like this. They can completely derail your day. How am I going to get all of this done? I think I need to see my doctor. When was the last time I had a physical? Are my kids doing okay in school? Is my boss happy with my work? Right? These are all additional thoughts that run through our heads as we let our brain cycle, as we let us go through things. So this is where I want you to start using your imagination. I want you to take several leaps beyond where most consider voice to be today. I want to have a personal AI companion that can anticipate my needs, give me the information that I need at the right moment, and make it significantly easier to focus on what is important. But to do this, it requires trust. Let's imagine for a moment that you're standing in this field early in the morning watching the sunrise. Everything is covered in a thin coat of dew, making the bright sunrise create rainbow pinpoints on every little stalk of grass. You take that deep breath in to really enjoy the morning, and all of a sudden you notice that me, Jeff Blankenburg, comes running out of the woods in front of you, come running towards you. I'm soaked up to my knees, covered in the wet dew that's collected on my pants. And I tell you that today is the last sunrise. It won't rise again. There won't be one tomorrow. How does that make you feel? Do you believe me? Or do you think that maybe I'm a bit of a crazy person? Almost certainly, you don't believe me. There's no way possibly that you could think that I have any information that would suggest to you that there won't be a sunrise tomorrow. The reason for this is because you have too much historical evidence that tells you that it will rise, exactly like it has every day before. So as we talk about our AI, as we talk about how our personal AI will feel, it needs to feel exactly like the way you feel about tomorrow's sunrise. Trusted, reliable. It would be unconscionable to suggest that it would fail you, that it wouldn't happen. But this trust is a responsibility that we as developers need to be hyper-focused on. We can't for a moment sacrifice the trust that comes with what we're talking about. Think about this for a minute. I want you to think about Bluetooth headphones for a minute. You may own a pair. You may have a set that you like or maybe that you hate. Do you have the same kind of trust with your headphones that you do with the sunrise? Do they work? Sure. I have a fantastic pair right here. I love these. But do they work all the time? No. There's a lot of times where I try to connect them and they don't connect. Most of the time they work really well. But when they don't, you're not surprised. You get frustrated. And when something important is unreliable, we tend to use it less. A good example is I was talking with the organizers of this before we started. And I was telling them that when I share my screen, my audio doesn't work on my machine. This is an unreliable factor in my computer. And it's very frustrating to think about the fact that that doesn't work very well. So I want to make sure that everything is still working fine. It looks like it is. Yeah, it looks like my video is frozen as well. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. But back to the Bluetooth headphones. When it works, it's as beautiful as a mountain sunrise, right? Everything is working exactly as we expect it to. I don't know how to solve this problem that I'm having with my camera. We can try one thing here really quick. No. My apologies. I'm just trying to see if I can fix this camera issue. I don't know why my camera has stopped working. And then we'll talk some more about Bluetooth headphones and the future of AI. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so we were talking about Bluetooth headphones and how they're great, but they're not reliable. They're not something that we can consistently rely on. We know that sometimes they're just not going to work, and that is incredibly frustrating. So let's think back to our frustrated self. All of those bad thoughts we're having. Our headphones aren't working. Our kids are crying. The dog is barking. So we take a short walk outside to the mailbox to see what was delivered. Maybe take a deep breath. And what do we find? Bills. We owe people money. We have things that we have to pay off. And now our brain is racing about how much everything costs and how maybe we can't afford things this month. There are so many stressors in our daily lives, and we are the only ones that can solve them, right? Or are we? And this is the point that I really want to get to. Let's talk about those bills for a moment. Because in the vision I want to paint, the vision of the future, we don't pay our bills anymore. Now, I know what you're thinking. I want my AI to do that. And your thoughts are, one, I have to pay my bills. Oh, of course we have to pay our bills. That isn't the point I'm trying to make here. What I am trying to make the point is, when I think about what goes into paying my bills, to making sure my checking account has enough money, making sure that all the bills properly get paid, do I actually need to do that myself? I contend that I don't actually have to pay all my bills every month. Even if I have student debt and credit cards, paying my bills for most people feels like a very manual process because I have lots of decisions that I need to make. And so my question to you is, do they really need to be manual? Do you really need to be involved in the payment of your bills? Artificial intelligence, you're suggesting, can't make decisions better than you. Well, let's talk about that. So as we think about what our bills look like and what it would take to have some kind of artificial intelligence handle all of that for us, let's look at the game of chess, maybe. The people that really love chess, the people that really love the game Go, they would contend that AI, in fact, has ruined their games. Because if you think about what's happened with those games, we've built AI engines that can beat the best players in the world every time. Every time. And it's because those games require so much forethought, so much future to think about 10, 12, 15 moves ahead, that a human's capacity to do that will never match the capability of a computer. So as we think about these things, we think about chess and we think about the game Go, computers have far surpassed what we're capable of. Now, this is a hot topic right now. Let's think about the stock market. Today, any of us can go in and we can buy stocks and we can sell stocks, and we can do it based on our whims or information or trends or whatever. But if you think about what's going on in the stock market even today, a lot of it is managed by AI. There are computer algorithms that are running all the time that are looking for opportunities and trends and buying and selling stocks when they deem it necessary. Sometimes they'll buy and sell within microseconds. And in fact, at least in the United States, at the New York Stock Exchange, there is high value in having your supercomputer be closer to the New York Stock Exchange mainframe than anyone else. Because the length of the cable, the network cable that runs between your supercomputer and the New York Stock Exchange where you make the trades, is the only limiting factor between how fast you're going to be able to make these kind of transactions, this AI to do this for you. That's really interesting. In fact, inside the New York Stock Exchange, they have coils and coils and coils of cabling because they are trying to slow everyone down. So even once you get your cable to the building, they still run you through miles of network cable just to slow everything down. It's amazing. But having rent right near this is super important because you want to be as close to and limit the amount of bandwidth you have to go through in order to make your trades. This is all today being handled by AI, and it's doing a far superior job than any human. So let's take one more step on that. Let's talk about medicine for a minute. AI has been proving over and over that it is better at diagnosing patients. Here's just a couple of headlines. Why don't patients trust it, even though AI is outperforming doctors? AI can outperform doctors in diagnosing cancer. It can look at diagrams. It can make predictions about patients that doctors could never make based on just looking at patient records. When they fed the data for patients into systems, AI was able to identify specific diseases and outcomes for patients years before doctors ever had an idea that that might be a problem for a patient. This is an incredibly interesting phenomenon as we start to think about AI and how this stuff all works. Another thing, this is a little US centric. If you think about sports like baseball is something that we would agree the subjectivity of an umpire calling balls and strikes as to whether or not they're good or bad pitches. Being able to eliminate that, we would all say is a pretty good thing. Most players would actually support this idea. They like the idea of being able to take subjectivity out. And if it's a strike, it's a strike. And if it's a ball, it's a ball. But there should never be a question. So if we can take lasers and AI and apply it to things like sports and medicine and the stock market, I think we can certainly apply that kind of logic to our checkbook. So let's look at some other ways we could apply AI to our personal lives to make things significantly better and reduce the stress and anxiety that we tend to fight. When was the last time you called your dentist? My father's a dentist, and most of you probably don't have that excuse for calling your dentist. But you probably made your next dental appointment during your last dental appointment, right? At least here in the United States, we meet with our dentist about every 6 months to check our teeth, to get them cleaned, and to make sure that there aren't any cavities or any issues. So you make that appointment 6 months prior, and then 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, you realize, oh my gosh, I can't make that appointment. My life has changed so much in 6 months. I'm not available at the time that I'd scheduled. And so you call your dentist and you talk to the person that manages the schedule, and you say, what's next Tuesday look like? Right? Oh, we froze again. My goodness. I don't love that my camera has frozen, but we'll keep going. My face is not that important. So you have to then do this kind of back and forth with the person on the phone to get the appointment to be at a time that works for you and works for your dentist. It's annoying. It's frustrating. It's slow. It's manual. Why should we need to call them to make an appointment at all? Let's think back to this super helpful AI that's now taking care of and handling all of our bills for us, and think about what else we could do with this information. What if this AI companion of ours could look at our calendar and look at our dentist calendar and look at our dental insurance to make sure that we're eligible for coverage and just take care of everything for us? And so instead of me worrying about when my next dental appointment is, instead my AI assistant could just easily say, hey, your next appointment is next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. All of those things can happen. The challenge is making sure that we have access to all of those sources of data and an intelligent enough AI to make it so that it's not scheduling appointments for us at 2 a.m. This is all the future that I'm looking for. What about your social life? I know this pandemic has made that very, very hard, but do you think you do a good job of connecting with your closest friends? Do you think that you reach out often enough and talk with them and engage in conversation? Or do you constantly wonder why nobody calls you to get together? What if your personal AI could make plans together for you? Realize who you've seen and when you've seen, and reach out to your close friends that you haven't seen in a little while and book an outing. Maybe you go to to a pub to get together, or meet at the beach like these friends are doing. You could schedule all of these things very easily and have your AI do it. Reach out to both of their calendars and say, hey, let's get together. It's another way to think about how we could connect this in a very powerful way. Another good example of this, here in the United States, refinancing a home is a huge nightmare. When I originally wrote this presentation, I was going through this process. It requires me to sign 80 or 90 different documents. It requires me to sit down and go through all of this with a person for hours and hours. So with these big decisions, are you paying close attention to mortgage rates? Do you know if you need to refinance your home or get a mortgage in the first place? Are you paying enough attention to know when the right time to do that is? What if you had a personal AI companion that could let you know, hey, by the way, you could save $70 right now if you refinance your house. Every month you would save $70. Just click this button or say yes, right? These kinds of things would make a huge, huge difference in how we'd want to do this. And who wouldn't want to save a few $100s every month on their home? Now, I want you to think about that world. I want you to think about a world where you don't have to worry about scheduling dentist appointments or paying your bills or scheduling time to spend with friends. You just get to do those things. What would you do with that time? We don't have to spend time trading 6 emails just to schedule a phone call. We don't need to drive across town only to find out that the store that has our favorite cookies is sold out. Life happens when and where it should without you needing to plan and execute every last bit of it. So my question is for you, what would you do with all that time? My hope is, whether you're an artist or an athlete or an inventor or a programmer or a doctor, that you'll be able to spend more time solving problems. You'll be able to spend more time engaging with the things that you really want to do, whether that's your hobbies or your profession or your friends. You don't have to worry about each of the little nuances of your day. Is this thing going to get done? Is this thing going to happen? You have a trusted AI companion that's going to do all of that for you behind the scenes because you trust it. This is the promise of voice today. This is why we at Amazon always say it's still day one, because there is so much more to come. There's so much more we can do with these kinds of engagements, with these kinds of skills. Skills are just the beginning of this journey to our own personal AI companion, though. Yes, there's always going to be room for bad jokes and random facts and fart sounds and everything else, but the ability to assemble and grow our own personal AI is our future. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. Living in a highly connected world like the one we have today, with AI saving us the time and the hassle of the mundane, is a world I want to be a part of. I want the freedom to focus on invention and creation of amazing new things. And I think we're on the right path. So with that, I want to say thank you for having me today. I hope you are a little more inspired about where we can go and what we can do. And I really want to thank you for inviting me to come talk with you today. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or you want to connect with me on social media, I am Jeff Blankenburg everywhere. I literally mean everywhere. You can find me on just about every social network with the username Jeff Blankenburg. So I really appreciate all of you taking the time to listen to me today. And if you haven't already, head over to alexa.design/start. It would be great to have you check out the resources we have for anybody that hasn't started building a skill before. And hopefully you'll find something new there that maybe inspires you to build your next AI experience. So with that, I will turn it back over to the organizer. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm sure it was really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we have reached the end of the session for today, and the results to pick a lucky winner would be announced later. Okay. So I'm sure it has been really interesting. I thank our entire Alexa Community India team and all the participants for making this conference a successful one. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening and stay safe.